right, so we are going to solve inequalities now. We're going to do what we were doing, but we're going to do that with inequalities, and so we're going to have to shade our answers. Okay, so if we look at the first part of this, it gives you a list of that you have your addition property of an inequality. So if you add the same numbers to both sides, it remains true. And subtraction property of inequality, if you subtract the same thing from both sides, it remains true. So I'm going to do what we've been doing. Here's my variable. Here's my line. And so I'm subtracting 5 from x. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. And I get x is greater than or equal to 5 minus 2 is 3, right? I have 5 positives, 2 negatives. 2 of those will cancel out, and my answer is 3. You subtract the number and keep the sign of the bigger. So I'm going to start with 3 in the middle. This would be 4, 5, 6. This would be 2, 1, 0. 3 in the middle, I'm going to put a filled in circle because it says equal to, and I'm going to shade this direction. Okay. All right, so on the next one, I'm going to do the same thing. Here's my variable. It would be a less than sign. You're adding 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides. So I have k is less than 4. So 4 goes in the middle, 5, 6, 7, 3, 2, 1. It's an open circle because it's not equal, and it's less than, so it's going to the left. I want numbers that are less than 4. Okay, I'm going to look at the next one. Now, remember what I told you before. When the variable is on this side, if I were you, I would rewrite it and flip it. It's going to be pointed at the P, and I would flip it this way just to read it a little bit better. So then I'm going to make my line, and you could have done the math first. It wouldn't have mattered. So it's being added by 7, so I'm going to minus 7. So you have 2 negatives and then 7 more negatives. So you got all red chips. 2 and 7 is 9. So it's a negative 9 in the middle, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, right? And you're going open circle and you're going less than. So that would be these numbers that are getting farther away from 0. Okay. All right. So what I would like you to do right now, we do not need to do all of them. I would like you to do 4. I would like you to do 5. I would like you to do 6. And I would like you to do 8. Go. Pause the video and work those questions. Okay. So on this, I would add the 2, and I get y is less than or equal to, I have 10 reds and 2 yellows. So it's going to be negative. It's going to be a negative 10. So negative 10 is here, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13. I have a filled in circle at a negative 10, and I want the numbers that are smaller, which would be going away from 0. Okay. All right, on this, it's a negative 7, so I'm going to go ahead and add 7 to both sides, right? I'm solving for A, so I'm going to add that 7 to both sides, and I would have A is greater than 7 plus a negative 5, so I'm taking 5 away from 7, and I get 2. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 0, negative 1, and I have an open circle, and it's going greater than. On the next one, you don't have to do it my way, but I would rewrite it, which means the bigger side, you're going to flip that sign as well. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that. So here I'm minusing 4, so I'm going to add 4. And that would be a negative 1. So I'm going to have a negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and then I would have negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. I'd have a filled in circle at a negative 1, and it's everything bigger. Okay, and so on the last one, we've worked on these before. I would rewrite it. So adding the opposite, adding a plus 1. So I'm basically adding. So the opposite of adding is going to be subtracting. And I get C is less than or equal to 8. So my middle number here is 8. This would be 9, 10, 11, 7, 6, 5, getting smaller. Filled in circle at 8, and it's getting smaller. So it's going this direction. Okay. All right. So if you turn the page, These are just the same thing, but they're now with decimals. So I would like you to do 9 and 10. Pause the video, do 9 and 10. I'm okay on this if you use a calculator. So I'm going to rewrite it so that my G is on the other side and it's open towards the G like this. So I got to flip that sign. So the opposite operation of minusing 5.8 is adding 5.8. And so my answer on that is G is greater than 7.2. So here's 7, here's 8, 9, 10, 6, 5, 4. 7.2 would be about right here, 7.2. Okay, and so then I'm going greater than 7.2. Okay, and on this next one, I'm going to subtract 3.7 because I'm doing the opposite operation. And that's 7.15, less than or equal to 7.15. So that's between here 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 5, 4. And I don't, just to have some of those, 7.15 would be about right here. I'm going to label it 7.15. And it's everything less than that. Okay. All right, so on the next two, you've got to remember that you have to have common denominators. You're adding 2/3 and adding 2/3. Whoa, sorry. So that means you would have H is less than or equal to, well, I got to get a common denominator, which would be 15. So here I'm going to times by 3 and get 12. Here I'm going to times by 5 and get 10. So when I add those two things together, I would have 22/15, right? Okay, so 22/15. So I end up with 1 and 7/15. So here's 1, here's 2, 3, 4, 0, -1, -2. 7/15 is going, and I'm not going to get a ruler. It's going to be between 1 and 2. So I'm going to label that 1 and 7/15, and it's everything less than. Okay. All right. So on the next one, I'm going to reorder it. So it's going the same direction, which means that's going this way. So now it's got to go this way because I'm changing the side. So this is a -1 1/4. -1 1/4. Okay, so I'd have x is greater than, well, I've got to write these. I think 7/8 is okay, but I'm going to write this as -1 and 2/8. So that answer is going to be 5/8, which is between 0 and 1. So 5/8 is going to be about right here between 0 and 1, and it's everything bigger. Okay. All right. So on this last part, and I don't think we'll do all of these, but this is what we did before where you're just saying like yes or no, it works or it doesn't. So you're going to take this 9 and you're going to put it in for x, and you're going to say 9 plus 16 is less than or equal to 23. So I end up with 25 is less than or equal to 23. So that answer is no. Okay, so same thing on the next one. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to have a -3 minus 2 is greater than -7. So I add those together, and a -5 is greater than a -7. If I make a number line, here's 0, here's a -5, here's a -7. That is bigger. My answer is yes. Okay. Now, you don't have to switch sides when you're checking because you're just doing 7 plus a -1. 7 plus a -1 is 6. 5 is not bigger than 6, so that's a no. So what I would like you to do right now, I would like you to do these 3 questions. Actually, do this one too, sorry. So if you unpause, stop and do that one too because it's decimals. All right, so on this next one, you're going to put 3/10 in for y. So 3/4 is greater than or equal to 1/2 plus 3/10. I will have to write 1/2 and 3/10 with a common denominator, and that's 20. So I'm timesing this by 10, and I'm timesing this by 2. So that ends up as 16 20ths. Jeez Louise, my pen is being weird. I have to get 16 20ths. Sorry. I'm going to have to go get a different tip for that. Okay, and then so 3/4 I need to write as a 20th so I can compare them. So I would times by 5 and times by 5, and that's 15 20ths. Is 15 20ths greater than 16 20ths? No. Here I would put in a -8. They're both negative, so I'm going to get more negative. I'm going to have a -15 as less than a -10. That is a yes, because it's farther away from 0 on the negative side, so it's smaller. Here I'm going to put in 11. Now this is kind of a tricky one. This is going to add a negative. I have 16 reds and 11 yellows, so I'm going to have all the reds left, so it's a -5. Is a -5 less than a -5? The answer is no. Now, let's just say for a second this had an equal sign on it. Then my answer would be yes, but since it doesn't have the equal to sign, my answer is no. All right, finally on this last one. So 12.4 is greater than 16.25 minus 3.9. So 16.25 minus 3.9 ends up being 12.35. So 12.4 is greater. That is a yes.